Okay, so once we're into Adobe Character Animator, we're going to click New Project. We're going to give it a name and save it in a folder of your choosing. I'm choosing the default Character Animator folder now. When it opens, it gives you a blank screen with multiple windows on that screen. If we move to the top left, this is our project window. This is where our assets will be imported. That's what I'm going to teach you in this lesson. So we are allowed to go to the home screen, the rig screen, the record screen, and stream. We're going to start in record mode. We're going to choose File and Import. And there's a couple ways to do this. I'll show you another way to do it later. But we're going to open up the folder we want. This is Character Animator Puppets All. I will try to have this installed in each one of the machines in the lab. Then we'll click on the folder we want, click on the puppet we want, and import that puppet. In this case, I'm going to take Andy. He's one of the Toon Loon kids. So he's going to be a little smaller than other puppets, but we'll click Import. And now Andy's going to show up in our project window. Once he does, if we double-click on that, which we don't want to do, but if we do, double-click will take us to rig mode. This will allow us to go into Adobe Illustrator and change some of the features on Andy. We're not going to get into that yet. We're going to go with the standard features. So I'm going to click back to record mode, and then we're going to drag Andy down to the timeline. So we're going to drag him down, drop him in that timeline, where you see that little blue line show up, and then Andy's going to show up against a clear white background. And there's little Andy. Now I'll show you ways to animate Andy and to add other characters in the scene and add a background in the scene. So first, if I click this blue microphone button on top, now my voice moves Andy's lips. It's the lip sync microphone button. The button on the left is the camera button. The button in the middle is body tracking. Andy does not come with body tracking, so we can leave that one alone. The Toon Loons puppets don't have body tracking, but they have enough really good gestures that are pre-built as triggers that we don't have to worry about that. So when I move my head, Andy moves his. When I blink, Andy blinks. When I talk, Andy talks. That's how it works. If we look at the triggers, you can also do a lot of other cool things with Andy. There's a sheet of triggers, by the way, for every one of the puppets that come from the Toon Loons collection or the Electro Puppets collection. So I can make Andy wear shorts and a t-shirt, glasses, long pants, a baseball cap. We can change his smile. We can change his eyelids. We can make multiple changes at the touch of a button to Andy.
Here's a little tip from a handyman that knows what he's doing. If you forget what puppet you want to use, or you're just curious as to about what all the puppets look like, well, instead of trying to open them all up one at a time, why not go to electropuppet.com? That's what I do. When you're on the site, click on Store. That'll take you to the menu of all the puppets they have for sale. Once you find that puppet's name on electropuppet.com, then you can go back to our file and look up that puppet and load it into your project.
So once you've found the character you want, play around with the triggers, explore the triggers, and see how you can maneuver those triggers to make your character do certain actions or make certain facial expressions or have a certain look, depending on what costume you want, what look you want the character to have. When the mic is on, Andy's lips should move with mine. This tutorial is not recording the actual audio, so his lips are not synced with mine. Using these transform controls on the right, I can also position Andy in the scene. I can move him from left to right, right to left. I can move him up and down. I can even change the scale of Andy to make him larger or smaller. He's a little kid, so I want him to be small in the shot. But we can also change those later. So I reset it back to 0, or back to 100% scale, I should say, back to the default setting. So after you've got your character, you can also give that character a background. I'm going to look up a different background scene here. This is also called a puppet. So I'm going to look under puppets. I'm going to put another character in the scene with him. This will be Let's go with his big brother. Who are we going to do? Jose, I think, will be little Andy's big brother. So this is a different way to import it. I'm going to open it up in the Finder and drag it into my project window. So remember the other way? You can click File, Import, and then find it. Or you can just have that folder open on the screen and drag it across into your project window. So I'm going to look up another puppet here for a background. And so in this case, it's another drop and drag. And in this case, it's not a person. It's called a puppet, but it's not actually a puppet. In this case, it's the background. So again, with any puppet, I'm going to drag it down to the timeline. So we'll drag Jose right down to there, and he's going to be on the screen with Andy. Jose is going to appear in the middle of the screen as a default. So Andy is slightly off center. Jose is in front. If I wanted to make it look like Jose is in the back, I would simply change his position on the timeline. So whoever's on the top is on the top layer. So he will show up in front. In this case, Andy's in front. He can lean over in front of Jose, but it looks like his feet are behind him. So I'm going to need to reposition Andy or reposition Jose. So now it looks like Jose is in front of Andy. And now we can put a background scene in as well. I'm going to drag the background all the way to the bottom of the scene, because remember, the lower the layer, the farther back that layer is. So this is a classroom. What I'm going to do is reposition Jose and Andy, because it looks like they're both floating in the air, or either that or Andy is somehow hanging on the wall. So I'm going to click on the Andy track, activate Andy, and then I'm going to change the Y position. That's Jose first. We'll do Jose, move him so that he's on the floor. We'll also move him over a little bit to one side so he's not dead center of the blackboard. We'll do the same thing with Andy. We'll activate that track. Then we'll go over to the transform options. We'll choose X position and Y position. So the Y position moves him up and down on the Y axis, and the X position moves him up and down on the X axis. And there we go. So we've got characters in a scene. They've been imported and they're ready to play.